2025, esto es el Lado B, estamos transmitiendo en vivo desde el centro de convenciones. ¿Cómo está, Fede?
¿Cómo estás, Gala?
¡Qué emoción!
Otra vez, 2025 de Ekoparty,
Sí.
Estamos de vuelta acá en Twitch, estamos en YouTube, acompañándonos en esta Ekoparty. Para los que todavía no se pudieron venir, estamos en el centro de convenciones dándole apertura a una conferencia de hacking más, ¿no?
¿Una más? No, es la más grande de Latinoamérica, la número 21, han pasado muchos años.
Yo no digo fechas porque revelo
Claro.
parte de mi edad. Solo voy a decir que la primera tenía 15 años.
Un bebé, ya quiero que me vuelvas a contar esa historia porque no me canso de escucharla. Vamos a estar aquí transmitiendo los 3 días, entramos en una especie de vortex donde no hay espacio-tiempo y de repente todo es Ekoparty, non-stop.
Así es. Y para arrancar fuerte, quiero que le demos la bienvenida a Roger Dingledine, director del proyecto Tor. Esta entrevista va a ser en inglés porque queremos sacar lo mejor de Roger y poder conocer mucho más, así que vamos a switchar. Hey Roger, thanks for coming to Ekoparty. Thanks for your keynote. We were trying to watch it while we're doing the setup. It was super interesting to know about projects like the one that you're directing. And Gala, myself, and probably many of the viewers have a lot of questions about Tor. But I'll start with the first. What drives you to take that challenging role in a project like that?
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for setting up this whole event. So one of the answers for what drives me. There we go. I'll move the mic even closer to me. One of the main thing that keeps me going is the users around the world. That when I go to an interesting place in the world and I talk to some new person and they say the authorities have been spying on pieces of my country and they saw this activist or they saw me, how did they do it? And then I can talk to them about how internet surveillance works and what options there are. And in some cases, tools like Tor can be helpful. In other cases, it's not a technology solution, it's a social or politics solution. But reaching the people whose lives are different because of my tool, that's what keeps me going.
Purpose is something that it's not longer often to hear in tech, right? Sometimes profit margin, revenue, growth are the ones that we sadly hear.
We're a nonprofit, so
I know.
We definitely pay attention to the funding side of things, but we don't have to do revenue and profit and growth in that same way.
How big it's a daily day in the Tor network? How much traffic or average Snowflake users, I think you define them that way?
Yeah, so we have, it's hard to say for sure because it's a privacy network, and one of the research areas is how do you measure your privacy network in a way that doesn't put people at risk, but you still know what's going on. We have millions of people each day using Tor. It might be something, the last number that made sense from the research side was 8 million daily users. So it's a lot of different people, and almost all these users are ordinary people who saw a news article about Google spying on people, or used to be the NSA spying on people. There aren't so many articles about that now, but it's a lot of different types of people who all realize they need privacy together.
Privacy has become something that probably when we started doing stuff on the internet, it was rather weird to set your name, your real name, and now we are almost live streaming our daily lives. What's your at least conception of what's coming next in terms of privacy?
Yeah, so from my perspective, privacy is about control, it's about choice, it's about, so I can use my privacy to decide to tell you my name. And I'm still getting my own control over information at that point. It's in situations where I no longer have the control or the choice, that's when you've lost your privacy. So what's coming next? The world is centralizing. Every country seems to want their own new dictator. All of the corporations they got more power than they should. So all of these trends are going in the wrong direction.
And And I don't know, Gala, if you want to chip in, but I think sometimes privacy has become kind of a social matter where if someone asks you about maybe, hey, give me your WhatsApp or your social media, and if the answer it's not the default one, which is, yeah, this is mine, people get weird around the idea of not sharing as they do the same amount of information or their name or their daily life. What could be a strategy to help them, realize that there are other options as yourself for more privacy?
Yeah, so one answer is tools like Tor browser let you use the web and they take care of the privacy side. Not completely. If you write a blog post with Tor browser and you put your name at the bottom, your name will still go out on that blog post. But all of the metadata tracking that Facebook and Google do, we try to get rid of. But you're right that it's a social thing. How do we teach people that it's normal and not weird to say, no, you don't need that? I'll give you a concrete example. Registering for Ekoparty asked for my passport number. Now, I was trying to figure out, is that a joke and you're going to laugh at all the people who put in their passport number? Or is that a normal thing that people just do here? And I don't know the answer to that, but it's a great, easy example of, wait a minute, why did you ask for that? Did you really need it?
Those are the trick questions that we are difficult to answer, and normally depends on the companies that run those services in how you prove your identity in a place of attendance. That is the challenge.
And maybe there are some situations where it makes sense to prove your identity, and there are some situations where maybe you let the person into the room.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
There is this mindset, a lot of people says, oh, they already have all our data, I don't even care, there is nothing we can do. What could you say to those people or address to use Tor?
Yes. Explaining to people who think it's hopeless or who don't see the problem or who think, well, they're not looking at me. These are all big challenges. And a lot of over time it works because they start saying, oh, they don't care about my data. And then suddenly their data is in a huge Department of the Treasury leak. And then they say, wait a minute, how did that happen? So over time, people are discovering that it's not about being targeted, it's about the whole system. It's easier to target everybody than it is to go after an individual. But yeah, how do we teach that to people? Part of the answer is you make tools like Tor normal so that everybody just uses them, and it's not weird to want safety on the internet.
Yeah, and there is a lot of myths too about Tor. You told in your keynote about the dark web thing and the iceberg with the skull. It was great. And how do you address that misconception of Tor?
Yeah, if you give me 20 minutes, I can do it. And if you give me 30 seconds, I can't do it. And that's part of the challenge for how we get this message across.
Yeah.
But I guess one of the answers is Tor is a security tool that gives you more security by default. And the internet needs that sort of tool. A great example for comparison, 20 years ago, we all used HTTP. We didn't have encryption in our browser. And the fight to get people to do HTTPS by default was harder than it should have been. We went to Google and said, you should let your users have safety. And Google said, but the schools are going to block us if we allow encryption because the schools want to surveil their users, their students. And somehow we won that. Now it's normal to have HTTPS. And if you go to your bank website and they don't have HTTPS, you say, why do you not care about my safety? So we need to look at that win and use that again in other cases for other very similar situations where users should have better safety on the internet. It worked then, we need to do it more.
Lowering the friction between the tools that provide us privacy and security, not rather for the tech savvy, but for the ones who are not understandably know what they are being exposed and how they are being exposed.
Yes, You have to make it as usable and as easy and as like the other, like as similar to Chrome as you can, but without all the bad parts.
Exactly. One of these strategies, last year we have the people from EFF who built Acme bot from Let's Encrypt.
Yes.
Another example could be Signal and their OTR implementation that might be implemented on WhatsApp that in one way or the other it helped a lot of people not being on the clear. Do you see any other tech that you could help maybe someone watching us to say like this is a big problem and we need some people around this that can improve it?
Yeah, so the Tor tool can provide metadata protection for a lot of different protocols. So you can do it for web browsing, that's Tor browser, but there are some projects working on messaging that goes over Tor. And tools like Signal are not as easy to use over Tor as they should be because they're integrated into the Apple and Android ecosystem. And iOS and Android are really good at watching everything that happens on your phone and preventing you from having control over that. So because Signal uses all the different Apple features, it's hard to get away from Apple and send your traffic over Tor. So one of the challenges that we, the community, have over the coming years is how do we separate tools like Signal from the Apple and Google ecosystems so that there aren't these huge corporations that are spying on your device while you're trying to use a tool like Tor browser or Signal on your device. And that gets into the bigger problem of, is it really your phone or is it their phone? And we need to win that fight because it can't be their phone.
In the past few years, we are starting to see consumer tech with a be able to use most of the tools, but I want to do it my way or at least under my rules. I think the challenge is make that consumption, right? And make it a product. And people are starting to realize that privacy is not retroactive. And when they see their ads of the conversation they were having in an intimate place, or they say, oh, this is playing against me, but rather with me. Do you think that it's going to be the path until most of the consumers start moving into products like those?
I hope so. We'll find out. Yeah. We definitely need more at every layer, whether it's the hardware or the browser or the operating system. We need more projects trying to make free versions, trying to make versions that are open to the user rather than building power at the company layer. And it is hard, like to answer your earlier question again of how do you teach people about these things and how do you get people to not give up. One of the challenges we see, if I am really good at my Facebook OPSEC and Facebook doesn't get to spy on me, somebody else here takes a picture of me and they upload it to their Facebook and they tag it with my name. I'm not involved in any of that, but there I am on Facebook. So it's the fact that all of these things are integrated and you have to rely on your neighbors to also work on your privacy. That seems hard to solve, but necessary to solve.
Definitely.
You work with a lot of journalists, the journalist community. In which cases do you notice a huge difference using Tor? And what would you say to the journalists too? What are the benefits or using?
Yes, so it depends who you're talking to, who the journalists are talking to. Mm-hmm. So if you're talking to an activist in Venezuela, then you need to think about the safety of the person you're talking to. And that's a situation where maybe a journalist here says, I don't have anything to hide, I don't need this. but they need to think through the effects of the conversations that they're having. So that's one very important case. I remember years ago I was in Tunisia at an Arab blogger conference, and I was talking to a BBC journalist, and she was talking about how she does Skype interviews with all the Arab Spring, the people leading the revolution in Egypt. She just does Skype interviews from her house in London, and I'm like, oh my God, have you thought this through? Because somebody watching your house in London gets to see all the people you're talking to. And maybe this is fine, maybe everybody made that choice and it's okay, but you shouldn't be making that choice for the vulnerable people you're talking to. You should be, by default, protecting the vulnerable people that you're talking to. So that's one of the most important areas where tools like Tor are important for journalists. There are plenty of journalists in those countries who also need this level of safety. But if you're a journalist in the small number of countries that we will refer to as free countries now, you still need to be thinking about Tor because it's not just you.
We're heading to an era where, at least in Europe, we're coming back to the discussion about rolling back chat encryption. One of my fears is that we start losing the battle that we have been fighting for the past 20 years. And normally the challenges around privacy, around transparency in some projects, it's security, sometimes national security. And in Argentina we had a couple cases where Tor exit nodes owners were raided. I think now in the US there is a big case in the media right now about a veteran running Tor exit node.
Yeah, that case didn't really happen the way that the media...
Okay, maybe...
But you're right, there's a big media thing, so
yeah.
There's a perception.
There's a perception. So my question is, with enemies as funded and as advanced that your project might be encountering, do you think we have a chance against those actors? Do you think we still have something to defend ourselves, being, running these projects, they spend a fair amount of time, technology, and brain into breaking Tor browser, Tails, our software, our computers. And it seems that they are getting better.
It's definitely the case that national governments are investing more in trying to harm users at every layer. But part of the reason why Tor has succeeded so far, and this, we need to keep growing this part, is the community side. We have relay operators all around the world, and you're right that running an exit relay by yourself depends what your life situation is. Maybe you're a sysadmin at your university and you decide to do it. We have many of those around the world. A lot of countries have non-profit hacker spaces that create a non-profit to run the relays. There's a non-profit in Switzerland, there's one in Sweden, there are 2 in the Netherlands, there are 4 in Germany, there's 1 in Canada, and these are organizations that get together to be the company that's running the exit relays. And this means that it's not an individual at their house, it's a company that's part of an ISP, and that's a much more stable, more scalable situation. So we need all sorts of different situations of people volunteering, and there are ways of setting up the infrastructure that are more sustainable, and a lot of the community has been experimenting with making those work well, and we need more of that. And we need one of those in Argentina.
Definitely. As Roger said, I think if I have to make a small summary of our conversation, it's if you want privacy, you need to get involved. You need to be part of the community. You need to help on the communication side, on the development side, on the infrastructure side. But the only way to play this game is to actually play it and not watch it from the sides.
Help us save the world. And even being a Tor user is a little piece of that, because the more ordinary people we have doing it for all sorts of different reasons, the safer it becomes for the people who really need it.
So this is Roger Dingledine, director of the Tor Project. Thank you for opening up Ekoparty. I hope you have a blast in Buenos Aires. I hope you see a lot of your friends And thank you for having your time with us at Lado B. So we'll continue this, and if they want to reach out about the project, Roger must be around here, so he has a small green
Thank
t-shirt.
you for having me, and I'll be walking around in a bright green Tor t-shirt, easy to find.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
Bueno, vamos a un corte y ahí seguimos.